In a world where wealth builds walls, one billionaire tore his down in the most unexpected way. When he stumbled upon his maid freezing on a snowy bench, what he did next stunned everyone, forever changing her life and his. Want more powerful, true-to-life transformations? Hit subscribe now and never miss a story that restores your faith in humanity. New York City had always worn its winter coat with a kind of tragic elegance. Lamplight glistened off the snow-covered sidewalks like stage lighting for lives passing, unnoticed. That night, Madison Avenue lay blanketed in a fresh sheet of snow, the kind that muffles sound and truth. And beneath that silence sat a woman, unmoving, almost like a statue carved from regret and exhaustion. Her name was Clara James. At 29, she was no stranger to hardship. Her mother had died when she was 14. Her father left shortly after, and by the time she was 18, Clara was alone in the world. She worked her way through fast food joints and night shifts in laundromats before finding work as a domestic maid in the sprawling penthouse of Roman Vale, the elusive tech billionaire known for his reclusive genius and colder-than-steel demeanor. Roman Vale, CEO of Trionex Systems, a man who had turned predictive AI into a trillion-dollar empire, had everything he ever wanted, except perhaps a soul. Widowed at 35 after a tragic accident involving his wife and child, he buried himself in data, stock charts, and soulless press releases. Clara never asked for pity, never even expected warmth. She showed up, cleaned, cooked, and quietly vanished at the end of each day. She kept to herself. She never mentioned that she lived in a women's shelter and had been saving every dollar for her younger sister's education back in Ohio. But that evening, after missing the last train and being told her shelter bed had been reassigned, Clara had no choice but to sleep outside. Wrapped in her thin coat, she found a bench. It was Fortixie. Her body trembled, but her pride refused to ask for help. She closed her eyes and let exhaustion take her. That's when Roman saw her. He had been attending a rare investor dinner across town and decided to walk back, something he hadn't done in years. The night called to him in a strange way, something about the quiet, the falling snow. Maybe, just maybe, grief had stopped screaming for a moment and allowed stillness to speak. And there she was, Clara, his maid, his silent, dependable maid, sleeping in the snow like forgotten luggage. He froze. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not in his world, not on his streets. He approached, tentative. Clara? She stirred faintly. Her lips were purple, her breath shallow, and in that moment, something ancient and human cracked open inside him. He took off his scarf, wrapped it around her neck, then bent down and gently shook her shoulder. Clara, wake up. Her eyes fluttered, open, heavy and dazed. She tried to speak but could only manage a whisper. Mr. Vale? Roman didn't respond. He simply pulled out his phone, called his driver, and said one word. Now. The ride back to his penthouse was quiet. Clara barely spoke. Roman couldn't stop watching her reflection in the car window. He offered her his coat, ordered hot tea through his AI kitchen system, and had the guest suite prepared in under 5 minutes. When they arrived, he carried her inside, something neither of them would speak of again. The next morning, Clara woke up not in a shelter or on a bench, but beneath a feather-down comforter in a room filled with sunlight and silence. Roman was in the kitchen, cooking. She blinked, assuming it was a dream. Billionaires didn't cook, especially not for their staff. Morning, he said without looking up. You're not going to work today. I can. I'm fine, Clara stammered. He turned, placed a cup of coffee in front of her. You were sleeping on a bench in Midtown, Clara. That's not fine. A pause. Why didn't you say something? Because, she wanted to say, People like you don't see people like me. Instead, she offered a sad smile. Didn't seem relevant. To dusting your shelves, Roman exhaled slowly, then said something that shifted the gravity of the room. You'll stay here from now on. Clara froze. Sir, you work here. You live here. That's the new arrangement. I've converted the East Wing into a private suite. You'll be safe, warm, and, more importantly, respected. It was too much, too fast. She nodded but didn't believe it, until it kept happening. Days turned into weeks. Clara moved in. Roman started talking, and for the first time they actually learned each other's names, not just labels. Clara wasn't just a maid. She was a classically trained pianist who had dropped out of Juilliard to raise her sister after their mother died. Roman wasn't just a tech mogul. He had once studied theology, wrote poetry in college, and still kept a first-edition copy of Rainer Maria Rilke's letters on his nightstand. As snowstorms came and went outside, a quiet, hesitant companionship formed inside, but it wasn't perfect. One evening, Clara found Roman alone in his study, weeping. He clutched a small, faded photo of his wife and daughter. I don't know how to forgive the world for taking them, he confessed. And Clara, barely audible, replied, Then maybe it's time to forgive yourself. That night, something shifted. He didn't touch her. He didn't need to. But the air between them was different. Months passed. Roman announced a surprise press event. No one knew why. Not his board, not the media, not even Clara. Until the day arrived, he stepped onto the stage in front of a roaring crowd at Trionex HQ and dropped a bombshell. I'm stepping down as CEO effective immediately. I'm liquidating 30% of my assets and launching a global fund for domestic workers and displaced women. The first $50 million will establish permanent housing across 5 states. Reporters gasped. But he wasn't done, and I'd like to introduce someone, the person who reminded me that humanity is not a liability. It's our compass. He gestured. Clara walked out, dressed simply, eyes wide with disbelief. She joined him on stage. She was my maid. Then she became my mirror. And now, I hope, my partner. The room erupted. The media spun theories. Was it a PR stunt? A scandal? But it wasn't either. They didn't get married. There was no Hollywood ending. Instead, Clara declined his romantic offer, but accepted his friendship and his funding. She founded an arts program for shelter youth. Roman moved to a quieter town and started writing again. They still saw each other, at charity galas, quiet dinners, sometimes just in passing. They had changed each other, but didn't need to possess one another. The final twist? Clara's sister graduated from Oxford on a full scholarship funded anonymously. She knew who did it. And Roman? He didn't save Clara. Clara saved him. Subscribe now for more stories that challenge power, privilege, and perception, because sometimes the most unexpected decisions become the most unforgettable legacies.